Alrighty, welcome back to a new episode of Post-Fades Cheesesteaks, joined by myself, Dakota. Got Timothy, as usual, and then Nick joining us back again for a quarterback episode. Top 10 quarterbacks headed into 2023. Gentlemen, how are we today?
Fantastic. I'm always good.
So,
How's the guest?
like
how's the guest? Oh, listen,
okay?
buddy.
I told
I'm
I, I
always
told
good.
I told Dakota before this. I'm like eagerly plugging and chugging along, finishing these grad courses that I'm doing right now. So I'm exhausted. I hate tedious tasks. So this is a nice break up in my day. Got on the grill. Followed on Gamecast watching the Phillies beat the Mets because the Mets will Met, and who loses a game letting up 4 runs off one single in the eighth inning? The Mets. That's
You're
who.
right about that.
So,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
And their manager gets to call it an early day, in the ninth inning, even better. But Nick, I appreciate a graduate student coming in. My master class is always free, but it's good to see the students, follow in line. Well,
That was good. That was good.
He's a student. He appreciates lectures and knowledge, and that's what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm. What did you do today, Tim?
I saw the Cubs and Cardinals battle it out in London. It was a fun time. I went in with a couple of my British fans, and I had to teach them what a seventh inning stretch was. Surprisingly, you know what is universal?
What?
Those Jumbotron games they play with the hats. There's 3 hats, and there's always a ball under there. So they did that. They did, how they did the subway races? They did that as well. Those I thought were just Philly only. I thought it was a SEPTA race. I thought it was Philly hat only. Move the hats. There's a ball underneath.
Have you never been to a non-Philadelphia game?
You act like you see a SEPTA race every other game
Not
you go to.
SEPTA, but
I thought those were only Philly, oriented games, but apparently they're very universal. But it was a good time. It was fun. John Goodman was out there singing the 7th inning stretch, taking me out the ball game. And it was apparently he's from St. Louis. I know you didn't know that, Dakota.
I did not know that. What stadium did they play at?
They played in the old Olympic Stadium from 2012. West Ham plays there.
A little fun. Look at that, a little fun fact nugget.
I'm full of them.
All right.
It was a good time. It was a good time.
No, it sounds because you said when you told me the other day, I don't know, I'm going to watch this Cubs game. I was like, the fuck, are you back in the States? What do you mean you're going to watch a Cubs game? And then I saw, they're in London. I was like, okay.
Yeah, they keep you guessing.
The Phillies are going to, I don't know if it's London, but they're going somewhere next year against the Mets.
They're playing in London.
Oh, it is London. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting time. Yeah, they just dropped the announcement that came out this week. Mets versus Phillies. It'll be exciting.
We'll have to get some.
It's a lot better than, of course. Oh, I'll be there. Don't worry. If I'm there for the Cubs versus the Cardinals, I'll be there for the Phillies versus the Mets.
Fair enough.
Most people don't know where St. Louis is, so about time they brought some big cities over.
Yeah. All right. So back to football. Like I said, we have one of our best, if not the best, player position rankings, the quarterbacks, most important position in football, one of the hardest positions in football. So this list, I feel like the list itself isn't too bad. It's just really the positioning of the players. I feel like we'll probably have the same 7 to 8 players. But then obviously the end of it might be a little different. I know for a fact the number 1 guy should be unanimous, as he's been for the last 3 years, but
I'll
you never
walk off
know.
if it's not.
You never know with some of the curveballs we could throw in here. So,
I mean, you are the curveball. I don't know what you're over here like Mr. Mystery.
As per usual, we will start with our guests, Tim. God, Nick, do you have any honorable mentions?
I know I do feel like the co-host sometimes, but no, I am still the guest.
You have been on a ton of episodes. I didn't realize before, but you have been on a lot, so we do appreciate.
You didn't realize, Dakota? You didn't realize, really?
I mean, I knew, but then I was writing them all down. I was like, oh wow, this one too. Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is our
third
or fourth quarterback one.
Dakota appreciated it because he was like, these episodes, I get along a lot smoother. I'm not getting ridiculed for my ridiculous statements as much. Nick is a lot nicer to you than I am.
I would argue with a moron half the time, so.
No, please. I bless you.
Masterclass.
Go ahead, guest. What do we got?
All right. So I'm only going to go with one honorable mention. 10 and 11, I'll be honest, was sort of a toss-up for me. And I think that and I don't often say this about many players because I think the term injury prone and all this is stupid in a sport like football, considering it's 100% injury position. If you played enough games, you're going to get hurt eventually. These guys all play hurt to some level. But my honorable mention guy is like standing up out of a car too quick, getting knocked over by his kids, or like or sneezing too hard and having his last concussion. So I have to go with Tua as my honorable mention. And it's not because of the play that he had last year. I think I was actually very impressed with the step he took.
He did
I
play
think
well.
I think he's going to have the fastest offense in the NFL. It's why I'm going to the game this year. Actually, me and my father-in-law are going Sunday Night Football. Can't wait.
Nice.
I think they're going to be super fast, super quick. The division got incredibly difficult. That division got very good. When the Patriots are now the bottom feeders in the division and still have a really good defense, just a suspect offense. When what the Jets look like now with all their young studs and Aaron Rodgers and the Buffalo Bills. You guys were loving up on Von Miller on your edge rusher episode. One hit from Von Miller, and this guy's career is over. That's it. That's where we are, and he's got to play him twice a year. I told Dakota I thought he was going to, we did our starting quarterbacks thing. My bold prediction was he was going to retire. He did mull retirement. Ultimately decided he was going to play. I think I probably would have retired, but due to all that, I couldn't put, and I couldn't justify in my own heart putting him in my top 10 because if I was a GM, I'm just not building a team around this guy right now. It's just too risky for me. So that's why he's my honorable mention guy.
Fair enough. I mean, no argument there. I mean, he's definitely heavily inconsistent, up and down for sure. So Dakota, tell us with your Ken Griffey hat who you have in your 6 honorable mention slots.
Shout out Ken Griffey Jr., my favorite baseball player. My honorable mention. So I debated this a lot. This was honestly the second hardest decision on this list. But I'm gonna go with a guy who just his play changes a lot depending on the cast he has and the coaching available to him. And at times he's shown he could be talent-wise top 5 arguably, but then other times he's just been super inconsistent. And he's not injury prone, but he's gone through a couple really rough injuries that have definitely shaken some of his seasons. So Dak Prescott here, I'm gonna go honorable mention number 11 here. I think he's a good quarterback. He could start on most teams. I just think, I mean, you saw Cooper Rush went in there and they won like 3 straight games or something like that without Dak. So what he would be able to do with a really crappy offense, I'd be curious, but I do think he has the tangibles to be a good quarterback. So just outside top 10 for me.
I mean, when we're starting out like this similar right away, and I thought I was saving this, for a surprise because I know Nick is very big on Dak. For a big Eagles fan, I know he loves Dak Prescott, but considering
he's a good guy.
He played behind an elite offensive line his whole year, and now, he said goodbye to a number 1 wide receiver, and now he's going to say goodbye to a number 1 running back. And how many of those big contracts do you keep saying goodbye to until you realize maybe you have a different problem? But we went with mediocre Dak Prescott as my honorable mention, who, it's got a whole bunch of incredible teammates with a whole bunch of, disappointing seasons behind his belt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually proud of you, Dakota. You seemed like you would definitely have followed the trend of, let me throw him in there. Let me throw some numbers in there. He's been in the league for more than 3 years, so he's my kind of guy. But I also had Dak in the honorable mention spot, and I think that's fair considering he doesn't bring anything to the table that isn't Kirk Cousins-esque, Derek Carr-esque, who hasn't made my list.
I think him and Kirk are kind of in that same, not to interrupt you, but I do think him and Kirk are pretty much in that same vein where it's like some games they could really impress you, and then some games they can really impress you with how bad they can be, so
yeah,
it's
I would
tough.
agree with you there. I think we got to the point where like Kirk Cousins has always been middling to average, Derek Carr as well. Mm-hmm. I think Dak Prescott is now the shine has now fallen off his mantle. He is now middling to average at best. I think we can comfortably say that as he loses more of those incredible teammates that help make him look special.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, it's hard for like some players. It's hard to really pin playoff success on them as like a detriment when sometimes it's, obviously the quarterback's not the only one running the ship there, but like they haven't done anything in the playoffs, and they've had a really, really talented roster for a long time now, and they
I
just
think
haven't
it's
done
just
anything.
general success at the same time. I mean, everyone wanted to
They'll
get
win
on
games
the
and then they
Cowboys.
don't do nothing.
Well, I think everyone is going to get on the Cowboys about, oh, you got rid of Cooper because of Elliott's horrific contract, and you don't have a number one wide receiver. Well, you know what? You got a quarterback making a lot of money to make up for the fact that you don't have a number two wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb's been incredible. You've played
Yeah.
behind an elite offensive line your entire career. I think he's been more Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins than special, and I think it's this year has really showed us more of that than anything else. But I mean,
All right. Well,
that's our honorable.
this is a perfect
Go
segue into
ahead.
my number 10.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. You know what? I'm proud of you, Nick, because I was hoping I could like tease you out for a little better. I thought
Tease
you
him.
would have a little higher.
Little foreplay.
I thought I was going to bring you out a
No.
little bit
No.
higher there.
No. He's number 10, and I'm not going to sit here and play like. I think I'm still happy 3 years ago I put him ahead of Carson Wentz, and you guys thought I was nuts for it because, as we can see, somebody said, "What do you call an average quarterback?" And some should just be shooting bears. So, I have
Both have won the same amount of playoff games since then, but here we go.
Yeah, one's on a team, one's not.
True.
Dak, I would agree. I think a lot of his success, you definitely have to credit a lot of the people around him. As the line has sort of come and gone, him and Zeke have definitely lost a lot of that shine that we originally had that love for during their rookie years. The only sort of difference in why I had him at 10 versus your 11, 12, 13, which I had like a Tua, Kirk Cousins, guys who, starters, but nothing that really excites you is, last year was a rough year for him. He led the NFL in interceptions. But the previous 2 years, he did have really strong years. He did throw for 4,500 yards, 37 touchdowns. The year before that, 4,900 yards, 30 touchdowns. So, like, he has potential. He can be a solid quarterback. He has some weeks. Well, I'll watch the 4 o'clock game because it's always the freaking Cowboys, and I'll watch it after the Eagles. And, sometimes it's just he's the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde quarterback. Sometimes it's like he throws a pick six to Josh Sweat, and sometimes he completes a 3rd and 30. You just don't know what you're getting from him. I like him as a leader. I like him as a person. I like his story. He's the fringe guy for me. And if you're gonna put Tua and Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr and Dak in a hat and say pick one, like I'm gonna pick Dak. It's not a shining endorsement, but we're talking number 10.
It's funny because I'll go roll into my number 10 because I got spaghetti brains himself. I went with Tua. That's all right. You're used to it by now. Well, I mean, it was natural. I got Tua at 10, as a natural switch 11 to 10 kind of mix up. I think Dak is more on the Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr. We know what he is. We've seen what he's got. I mean, you can't find a better situation than Dak's had behind an elite offensive line, 2 stud running backs, and a number 1 wide receiver. We saw glimpses of that with Tua. Tua played behind Swiss cheese and, a rookie wide receiver up until this year. He had a great system going, and then, his brain started, melting. But give me the guy who showed me potential in his first year with opportunity, which is the team around him. Dak is very average. I don't think he's going to get better than average. I think this team is going to continue to go through other players, and they're going to blame it on other people. They're going to start blaming it on the line. They'll sign Lamb, they'll sign Pollard, but in the end, it's going to be Dak. And Dak has done nothing. And Dak has survived the Cooper contract, the Zeke contract, but at the end of the day, he doesn't give you anything. He's not going anywhere. Tua's more exciting. Tua can do a little bit more. Tua we haven't seen fail with an incredible opportunity. And he's also much younger than Dak. So if I'm deciding between the two, that's why I leave Dak in the Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr region, and why I give Tua the opportunity and the respect. If his brain's right, I'm rolling with him for sure.
Yeah, but you can't tell me you don't get nervous every time he sneezes.
That's why I don't.
I
don't have him on my list for that reason.
One head bob too hard, and that's a career for that dude. Like, did you see him after those hits with those concussions this year? Like, I quite literally I wanted to go out there and be like, he's had enough. Like
Hey,
he's
listen,
had
you're
enough.
not wrong there. You're not wrong there, but that's like the mystery of the game. I think, Tua might, just never lace it up again, never play again. But at the end of the day, I know Dak is either going to be very average or just not play. There is really no above average coming from Dak. He's been in the league for what, 7 years now? I'm not getting better. I
Yeah.
know what Kirk Cousins is. I know what Derek Carr is. I know what Dak Prescott is. Tua's got a higher ceiling. If his brain isn't, linguini, he'll be fine.
I mean, I saw. I mean, it's sad, but I saw a video of someone was interviewing Antonio Brown the other day, and he started talking about like Tom Brady and like how like he was like, yeah, Tom Brady and like some of those guys like they don't understand like, I'm just not in it for the stats and stuff. Like, I got 10 cars, I got all these models coming to my house, and they're like, when did we get to this topic? Like, what does this have to do with football? And like they're like, man, that CT is no joke. So I'm worried for him. I don't want him to, because if he gets another concussion, he might have to retire. It's that risky. So yeah, I didn't have on my list, but it sucks. His draft class, I was preaching him the most because watching him in Alabama, I thought this guy could be. I thought he was what Trevor Lawrence coming out of college was going to be like. He's the next big thing. He's going to be really good, and he struggled, and now he's had all these concussion issues. So it's really hard to evaluate him and his future. But
I mean, minus the concussions, he looked awesome last year.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But it's such a big question mark.
He did look good, and that offense is going to be fast, like
Yeah.
fast. I told myself no night games this year, and then I saw the Dolphins was night game, and I called my father-in-law. I was like, "We're going. I'm going this game. I need to see Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Mostert and Devin
cool,
A-Chain. Yeah. Like we have 4 guys in the field who run sub 4 threes. It's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
One broken tackle, it's a house call.
I mean, I understand where his injury concern is, but I mean, there's been a lot of players in the league that have had injury concerns, and I get it. It's a serious thing, but he's not going to retire. I mean, I understand, like, it's not my brain.
He did think
it's
about
his
it.
brain. Sure, he said it, but he's not going to. Let's be honest. He's not. If he was, then he would have done it by now. But he's going to go play, and he is going to, I think, be really good up until him staying healthy. I think that extra level of excitement of what he could be and what he is going to be, I think you can't ignore. I like the offense.
Does that division not scare you? Like, there's not an easy defense in that division. None. Every defense in his division is legit. 6 games a year against strong defense.
He was fine. Up until his brain was melted, he was fine last year. I mean, the defense hasn't really changed that much.
I mean,
Von Miller's coming back.
As long as he doesn't think Sauce Gardner is playing on his team, then
he'll be fine. Listen, you got Jalen Waddle, you got Tyreek Hill, you've got plenty of running back. Like, you've got plenty of offensive playmakers. He'll be fine. You got, a solid offensive line. It's not really the defense that worries me with him. It's just his health. And I think he played exceptionally well when he was healthy. Sure, if he wants to hang it up, listen, it's not my brain. I would totally understand it, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to go out there and give it another shot. I think he's going to be smarter about it. Maybe he's going to be quicker with the ball, but he's not going anywhere. He's going to play this whole season up until the fact that he's just not capable of doing it.
Last question for an 11-10, because we're spending a lot of time talking about 11 and 10. But do you not also, like, I think a part of me took a little bit away from him from yak that he got, like, knowing that a lot of his passes were like 10 yards and under in Hill and Waddle, and everybody were just like running away from guys. Like, I didn't see Tua make a ton of that impress me throws.
He doesn't have the arm.
I saw a lot of slants. I saw a lot of outs. I didn't see him make like a Trevor Lawrence and Herbert. Everybody would talk about their big arm. Like, they made some throws where you're like, wow. Just, I don't know. He's never really impressed me with the arm. Now, again, when you've got that offense, you don't have to, but.
Didn't Tim call him noodle arms as soon as we entered? So.
Yeah. I said noodle brain. Well, pay attention.
He's built out of noodles. He's got a noodle arm too, so.
All right, Dakota, who's your number 10?
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle don't get the reputation as, burners down the field unless they're getting the ball pretty far down the field.
Fair enough. Okay. So real quick before I do my 10, I just want a number. We're not going to get into it. I just want a number.
This guy's still teasing the crowd here.
Just a number. 32. There's 32 numbers.
32. We're at top 10, brother.
Listen, bear with me. 32 numbers. Where
Yeah.
is Russell Wilson in the top 32? Just pick a number.
Are you trying
No,
to,
no explanation. No talk. Just give me a number. Where is
are you
he?
trying to spoil this? He's coming.
No, he's not coming.
What do you mean?
Uh,
Wait, you know my list better than I do?
He was just on my honorable mentions. I just wanted to. I didn't mention him, but I'm just curious. If you have him on your list, then save it. But if you don't, where is he?
He's my biggest confusion as a Broncos fan. I told you, Dakota. I don't know if if we saw him fall off a cliff and have a Wentz drop, or just Nathaniel Hackett suck that much. I mean, he's got weapons around him. He's got like plenty of wide receiver help. You brought Sean Payton in, like who's been really good with veteran quarterbacks. I mean, him and Drew Brees had a great thing going. Like, does he have a chance to turn it around? Yeah. Does he have a chance to fall on his face and make me want to vomit as a Broncos fan? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
So I asked for a number
I,
and you gave me a reason. So that's you
I don't. I
already
don't
failed the question.
understand. I don't understand what you're looking for here. Do you want me to skip? Do you want me and Nick to skip our list and just get to Russell Wilson?
All right,
Is
never
this where
mind.
we're
Never
aiming for?
mind. If you don't, we can
All
skip
right.
it.
What's your number 10, Dakota? Just answer the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
This
What are
was
we doing here?
I
Here's
don't
number
know.
10, Derek Carr. Nothing to do with Russell Wilson or
No,
Tua or
well,
Dak Prescott.
because it was finishing out our honorable mentions. Anyways, so my number 10, a little bit of I did not think I was gonna have this
Oh, here we
man
go.
on my list come 2023. But you cannot deny when you are 6th in passing yards and 6th in touchdowns, you're doing something right. Got Jared Goff here, number 10.
Oh, the Goffinator.
Yeah.
Only Dakota
Okay.
would break up an argument between Dak Prescott and Tua and then drop the Russell Wilson name for absolutely no reason to then just go right into Jared Goff.
Because I didn't mention him as an honorable mention because I was relooking at my notes and I was like, let me just bring it up real quick. But it sounds like Tim might have him on his list, so I don't know. But
he's on my list, but go through your left field. I mean, we went through 4 different quarterbacks before we got to Jared Goff, so I don't want to steal your thunder. Tell me about Jared Goff.
Talk a little bit about Goff. Yeah, talk a little bit.
Yeah, Jared Goff. No, I mean, I think you just look at the success he's had in Detroit. His first year was pretty rough, but he kind of settled into his own. They got some weapons around him, beefed up the offensive line, got some good play callers. They have some really offensive coordinator and coaching's pretty good for him right now. And honestly, I think he's playing better than he did when he was at the Rams, and he had good weapons with the Rams too. So, I mean, I like I said, I really debated the 10 through 12, but I just looked at the numbers. And I mean, I know Kirk's up there in yards and touchdowns as well, but I mean, Jared Goff only had 7 interceptions on 29 touchdowns on 587 attempts. Like that's pretty good. He's got really good completion rate, 65. Like he was doing everything correct down in Detroit, and now they're being in discussion for winning that division, winning, possibly making it into a couple playoff wins. So I think he's one of the reasons Detroit is having a nice resurgence here. He's one of the main pieces there. So shout out Jared Goff. I know it was always the Carson Wentz versus Goff debate, and I always obviously sided with Wentz. And I thought Goff was overrated and garbage, and he's kind of proved me wrong a little bit. He's had a nice little second half of his career. So that's my number 10.
I mean, the Lions offense this year was exciting to watch, which is like such a weird thing to say since Megatron left.
Yeah, St. Brown was he's number 10 on my receiver list too. So
yeah, I mean he's really good. I mean, if Jameson Williams can stop making FanDuel bets, he'll eventually get to play football for them.
When will they learn?
It's never. So I mean I like it. I think Goff. Listen, he's not on my list, but I think if we sat here long enough, I could move him around, and eventually he'd be 10 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
He was great to watch this year. He did more to win games for Detroit than he ever did for the Rams this year. I'll say.
Yeah, I agree.
I
would agree with that.
He had more drives this year where his impact won the game versus on the Rams it was just like his job not to lose the game, and that I think was definitely
that's a pretty accurate statement.
Big change.
He is. I mean, he didn't make my list, but yeah, I agree. He's had I would say a career year. I mean, number wise, maybe not, but he really was more impactful this year than he was at any year beforehand. Even the Super Bowl year, he was just a guy then. No, he played really well. Listen, the Lions offense was surprisingly really well, and he had a big part of that.
All right. So that's all of our 10s. So Nick, who is number 9?
Number 9. So this was a tough spot for me. And this, I I just ended up going off a little bit of giving somebody the benefit of the doubt that I think can have a good year, not great year, but good year. He may happen to have not played a lot of games last year, but he was fourth in completion percentage. Dakota's been loving on him for a long time. The
No,
team had the
that's a
Super
bad sign.
the team had a big Super Bowl hangover last year. Shocked us all on how bad they played. But at the same time, they don't have a first round pick, I think, until my son's eligible for the NFL draft. So they don't really have a rebuild option. They can't really sell the farm and do all of that. So he's got a great arm, close to 5,000 yards the season before. He's a big risk it for the biscuit kind of quarterback. I'm going to put Matt Stafford at 9. I think he has a bounce back year. He's still got a great arm, still got he can still launch the ball. It's just one of those feel things. I don't think he's going to be phenomenal, but if, again, looking at the people we've already talked about in this honorable mention 9-10 spot, if I was going to walk into this year and I had to plug someone behind center, like I'm putting Matt Stafford above the names we've already talked about.
Fair enough. I think that's fair. I mean, I wouldn't have too many arguments with that. I don't have Stafford on my list, mostly because I'm a forward thinker, and he's the least motivated quarterback on this list, I think. He's got all the stats you could dream of when he was playing on those Lions teams that never won. He won a Super Bowl, and now he's really hurt. Like, I don't think any player in the NFL is least motivated to actually show up and go out there than Matthew Stafford. Like, his legacy is already cemented. He's got Philip Rivers numbers with the Super Bowl ring that, gets him I mean, at least the conversation, maybe not in, but at least the conversation for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I don't know. His numbers are pretty good, but
I mean, he's at least in the conversation.
I mean, Donovan was in the conversation. He's not going to make it,
but Matthew Stafford has a Super Bowl ring. This is what I mean. There's really no reason for Matthew Stafford to really have to bust his ass anymore on a team that's going nowhere. But
that's true.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with another guy that who's complete opposite of Matthew Stafford. I think has a lot to prove. Came off a very strong year. Guy that was, I think, blessed with a football mind that we all appreciate and love. And he needed him because he was in a train wreck. One of the best quarterback prospects to ever touch the league ran into one of the worst coaches to ever touch the league. And surprisingly, the disaster that fell in front of us was horrific. But he came out, he played well. Yeah, I think he's going to be even better next year. I think next year, quote me on this, who's going to be in the top 5 that's not in the top 5 right now? It's going to be my number 9. So I'm going with Trevor Lawrence. I think he's a guy that is putting it together. He's got a good coach, good system, good players, and they're slowly putting it together. The team is growing with him, as they should as a franchise quarterback.
Okay. I'm a little higher.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So
you got 9.
So my 9, since we're all like about this whole controversial number 9 guys, this one was tough. I do love Matt Stafford, and I've preached him for a long time, but the injury does concern me. So he did not make my list this year, unfortunately. But I do have a guy who, not necessarily injury concerns, but just like, will he get back to the old ways that he was when he was slinging around with D-Hop and Houston?
Knew this was coming, and I knew you were going to take this take. And
Deshaun Watson, number 9.
You have no morals.
You put him in the top 10?
I did.
You have no morals. You have no soul. I couldn't agree more. We're worried about Tua's spaghetti brains, but we're not worried about the fact that this guy's never played and did absolutely nothing.
So he hasn't played a full season since the 2020 season.
That's a good start.
He played in He played in 6 games, had a horrible 38.3 QBR with 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions.
Are you fighting for him or against him? I'm confused.
I'm just laying out the numbers so you can see.
Oh, please go on. Please go on.
Just had over 1,000 passing yards. But here's the thing. I think he's got good weapons around him. Obviously has an elite level running back, a very good offensive line, a defense that has hopefully a new identity. I think they hired our old defensive coordinator. The hell is his name?
They did. Schwartz.
Schwartz. Yeah, Jim Schwartz is man in the Browns now.
Don't know why defense coordinators are,
Don't
factoring
know
in this
why you keep
quarterback
interrupting me.
discussion, but go on.
But I just think he's gonna settle in. It takes time. Like you look at I have a point on this later, but you look at how many quarterbacks just need time to develop to get back to. Look at Geno Smith. He was crap for 10 years, and then he just had a huge season with the Seahawks of all teams. So
I forgot the 24 sexual assaults Geno Smith was accused of. What's the track record on bouncing back from Dakota?
I'm not defending him as I don't that we're not talking about him as a person. We're talking about as a football player on the field.
I mean, that's something to bounce
should he
back
be
from.
playing? I don't really agree with this whole decision. So
He's not in my top 10, so
I'm just based off his team and what I've seen in the past. I think he's going to finally get back to his play, and I was always critical of him when he was at his best because I always thought he was very Dak Prescott-y.
So
you're
not critical of him now after he was nearly in jail, but we're critical before that.
I think if we get the best of Deshaun Watson, he's better than the rest of the players who wouldn't be 9 or 10. So
I think I hear what you're saying, and you can make the argument that his situation is the best of the people we just talked about. None of the quarterbacks we've mentioned already have a better situation. You're not wrong, and they just stole Elijah Moore from the Jets because the Jets wanted to give him away.
That was dumb.
So they've got receivers, they've got running back, they've got O-line. The top end of his ceiling is higher. I mean, we talked about it 2 years ago. He is top 5 talent. He wasn't top 5 because he was going through all that stuff, but he has top talent. However, he didn't play for a year and a half, and when he did play last year, he looked like a guy who forgot how to play football. And I don't know if that's because he lost his. I don't know if it's because he lost his motivation because the Browns gave him $230 million guaranteed, and he can go pack it up and never play again, and he's going to make a $250 million, and maybe doesn't care. But that hurts, and that hurts because I was a huge Deshaun Watson fan. I followed his high school career because I was a big Clemson fan, and he was breaking all these Georgia records. And then I watched him from freshman year on at Clemson. I met him at the draft on the red carpet. Like, I have a picture with him. Trust me, it was like heartbreaking to see him, all the stuff come out because he was always supposed to be this high character leader. Like, really blew my mind. But just football alone, yes, I can agree with you on his ceiling is higher than everybody else we've talked about. No question. But what I've seen of him lately, over the last 3 years, has been very poor football, and I don't know we're going to see his peak anymore. And that's just kind of why it's hard for me to put him on my list.
I'm on the
I
other
couldn't
side
agree with
of
that more.
I think
shocked.
I think we can still see his recovery and his peak. And if we do get his peak, it's better than, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, some of these guys who are at that 10, 11.
You're probably right about that, but I mean, Derek Carr or Jared Goff are not on my 9 or 10. I'd take Trevor Lawrence and Tua and his spaghetti brains any day of the week. Deshaun Watson has the rare case where he did absolutely nothing that makes you excited last year. He missed the whole year. I don't know why I'm going to reward him.
It's not an accurate.
And he looked terrible.
You would look terrible too if you took 2 years off and played 6 games.
You're right, and you wouldn't put me in your top 10. I mean, he had more sexual assaults in the last 2 years than he has at successful games.
The name of these episode series is called Top Players for 2023 because we're looking forward to the upcoming season, not last year. This isn't a last year ranking. This is how are they going to be going into the season.
Oh, and Tua and Trevor Lawrence are much better set up for the success than Deshaun Watson is. I mean, I actually can't ignore the fact that what Nick brought up is like this guy's the only guy in NFL history who's got a fully guaranteed contract. I mean, he could definitely just pack it up.
Really?
I mean, listen, he's on the Cleveland, for a 3-year deal. He's on the Cleveland Browns, man. The Cleveland Browns do not smell like success. He could just pack it up and say, you know what? Thank you for ignoring all my criminal cases and just giving me $200 million. But I'm going to call it a day, sir.
All right, so Nick and I flipped the players we liked watching. I liked Stafford. He liked Watson, so we flip-flopped. Anyways, Tim, did you do number 9 yet?
I did. Trevor Lawrence. Okay. Correct answer.
Number 8.
Yeah,
go ahead, Nick.
Which is a perfect segue because my number 8 is Trevor Lawrence. And I thought it was super interesting. But, the next Clemson guy I got to watch after Deshaun Watson, who broke all of Deshaun's Georgia records. Fun fact. Deshaun had the high school records, and then Trevor broke them all.
Nice.
So it was interesting to see how high Trevor Lawrence was on a lot of top tens. I don't know if you guys like kind of looked at other lists when you were building yours, but I saw a ton of people putting him at like 5, 6. And I think that I understand the projection. I'm not big on projecting guys that far ahead. Um, I think that offense is going to be deadly. What Doug Peterson did with him this last year was amazing. I said at the trade deadline last year, getting Calvin Ridley onto that team is going to be, monstrous for them. Guy's one of the best route runners in football. That's going to be amazing to watch. The thing that kind of kept him not from going up higher where I saw this was he led the NFL in fumbles, and it was by a lot. Like he had 9, and the next closest was Josh Allen at 6. And Dakota and I got to watch 4 of them live.
I was gonna say, yeah, 4 of them were in one game though. Like,
so even if you take that out, he's still like third. Even if you take that one game away, and everybody plays in bad weather, like Josh Allen plays in the snow, like the people play in bad weather. Dakota,
fair,
part of the
fair.
NFL.
Okay.
So we went to a game in a hurricane. I didn't see Jalen Hurts have 4 fumbles, and his hands are about half the size. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, no issue. I appreciate, I had the same thought as you, Nick. Trevor Lawrence right in that 8 and 9. I think he's gonna be top 5 next year. He's got the pedestal.
That offense is gonna be great. I mean, the offense is gonna be amazing.
Oh yeah, Dougie P knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. That's a coach that understands what he's doing when it comes to offense. I'm actually gonna go with a guy that I have to think you have a little higher than me, but assuming Dakota went with a sexual predator makes me think that he doesn't have him on his list at all. I'm going with a guy who had a terrible year last year, but also didn't miss the entire season because he was being investigated for, numerous crimes. I'm going with a guy who had a brand new offense to learn with a coach that was merely hired because they wanted someone else at quarterback. I'm not going to forget how good he is, so I put Russell at number 8. Guy can still play football. I'm not going to get too caught up with this. So, this is going to be the worst trade in history. Oh, relax. This is not going to be the worst trade in history. Give him some time. He played with a coach that was hired because they wanted Aaron Rodgers, and they got Russell Wilson instead. He'll be fine. I'm not too worried. The guy's still elite. He was incredible his entire career. Why do I think he's suddenly going to fall off a cliff when he goes to a new team? I think Russell's going to be fine. Russell and Lawrence, who have back-to-back, could both find their way into the top 5 next year.
I mean, I hope you're right, both as a Broncos fan and as a guy who's really loved Russell Wilson. And it could happen. I mean, he's set up for we already talked about it. I mean, he's got great weapons around him. He's got 4 legit receivers. They added Gio Bernard, and Javonte Williams should have a big bounce back year, and Sean Payton should be big for them. So it definitely can't be worse. So I hope it does turn out that he gets it. And Tim, you laughed at me last year when I only had him at number 8. Just want to make sure we bring that back up.
Listen, you know what? We can, I still think he's a top 5 talent. He just went to a team that, 1, sucked, and 2, hired a dude that didn't know how to be a head coach just because they wanted to invest in another coach. I don't know how you make a franchise-altering trade before you hire the head coach or after you hire the head coach. Like, dude, if you're going to hire Aaron Rodgers, offensive coordinator, like, make the Aaron Rodgers deal. Like, how do you not get that done beforehand? Don't just stumble into the Russell Wilson trade after you've already hired Aaron Rodgers, offensive coordinator, and act like that was your original goal. I mean, I think it's very obviously he's not a very good coach. I never thought the Packers had a great offense outside of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Nothing they did was exciting. I think Hackett's a fool. Sean Payton's a good coach. I'm excited to see what him and Wilson do. I still think Wilson's top 5 talent.
I love Russell Wilson, and I do think he could be that same type of level, but I don't know. I was saying this to Nick earlier too. Like, it was very visible that he wasn't as like athletic as he normally is. He just looked like not himself, and I know that definitely was part of coaching, part of learning a new offense. That really was making some bonehead coaching. Like, the play calling was horrendous. Nothing made any sense.
You did not go from a top 5 quarterback to
all the situational plays they did, like third downs, like none of the plays made any sense. But Sean Payton's obviously a reputable coach, and the reason I asked is because you always avoid older players who have questionable, last seasons. So that's why I figured you didn't have him on your list. So I'm pretty surprised that Tim, of all people, had Russell Wilson.
Listen, I'm realistic. He was what, top 5 on my list last year. I'm not going to let one bad year with a coach that should have never got the job that differ
I'd
from that.
I'd I'd put him at like 12 or 13, and then see how he
So,
does.
so Russell Wilson have a bad year, was kicked off your top 10 list, but Deshaun Watson coming off a year he never played and having a bad year was promoted on your list.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, you know what?
So
Times are tough.
last year, Deshaun Watson was my number 11 honorable mention, and Russell Wilson was number 5. So
So
I don't
having
know.
the worst 6 games of his entire career got him promoted.
We don't need to keep going on about Deshaun Watson. Like I've already
Well, that's
stated
debatable.
why.
That's very debatable. But I think, listen, if you could find me another comparative to, I know Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer, one of the best ever. Find me a quarterback in the NFL that is like Drew Brees. I'd probably start with Russell Wilson. From what they play, how they play, similar, structure, body size, and everything. Gives him a little more with his legs, but I think Russell Wilson and Drew Brees' game mirrors each other. And I think that he's got the perfect coach. He got stuck with a coach that should have never got the job, but he's got the perfect coach now. And I mean, listen, if I'm wrong, then hang me out to dry. But I'm more confident in Russell Wilson figuring it out than the sexual predator you have at number 9.
So I did say our like 8, 9, 10s will be the the ones that everyone disagrees on. So time to make it another disagreement one. My number 8
Oh, here
here
we go.
is Lamar Jackson. I know he just
I can
got
live with that.
paid, but I just
Fine. I'm fine with that.
it's the health concerns, man. He's played in the last 2 seasons, 29.4% of his games he's missed. Like that's too much of the season. And he's never really been able to do anything when they got to the playoffs. He just can't stay, like the way he plays is just kind of reckless still. He's definitely improved as a passer, and he's got probably the best receiving core if Odell plays that he's had since he's been a Raven. And he's got one of the best tight ends in the league, a good running game, really phenomenal head coach. But I don't know. I need to see him stay healthy for 17 games. He's got to stay on the field. So, but we know it's there. He's a former MVP. So,
Well, this is a natural time because he's my number 7, so we can continue
okay,
to talk about
there
Lamar
we go.
Jackson. So,
I
they
love
don't
that.
hand out,
Love that.
and they don't hand out MVP trophies. He had a magical year that year, and everybody said it
Yeah.
was just because he ran so much, but actually his throwing stats that year were tops of the league. This is the best receiving core he's ever had. Bringing in Zay Flowers, I think that's going to be huge for them.
Yep.
I was really nervous Zay Flowers was going to end up on the Chiefs, and they were just going to like basically have the Tyreek Hill replacement. So, Zay Flowers, OBJ, Rashad Bateman, I'm really high on. I think he has legit ability in the league. Nelson Aguilar, I think, was a sneaky good signing. Like they've got
Oh,
4
wait,
legit wide receivers.
not the podcast to be dropping Nelson Aguilar's name on,
Well,
but I appreciate that. I
listen.
appreciate the
I'm
thought.
not saying he's a wide receiver 1, but he had a solid. Listen, he had a solid time. That Super Bowl year, he was an important part of the team. Did he underperform? Was it a terrible first round pick by the Eagles? No question. But he had a great Super Bowl year, and by all accounts, every player who's ever talked about Nelson Aguilar has said how great of a locker room figure he is. Chris Long, Jason Kelsey, like guys who were like, he gets a rep that he doesn't deserve because he had really bad drops the first couple of years. No, and he wasn't a first round talent. Nobody's questioning that. But he's a depth receiver at this point of his career, and he's a good depth receiver. He's the 5th receiver on this team behind those 3 and Mark Andrews. I can
Oh
live
yeah,
with that on a
no,
team
no
that's not
arguments there.
gonna throw a lot.
Yeah.
No,
He is
I
only
agree with that.
and Lamar's only 26. Like I think we feel like he's been around for forever. Like he's 26 years old. He's
That is
already
pretty
won an
young.
MVP. It's super young.
Yeah.
Like he could be playing football for the next decade. Like Matt Stafford is talking about. I think it's 37.
Isn't Stetson
So,
Bennett
like,
Yeah.
older than Lamar Jackson? He just got drafted.
That's in bed as
Could
25.
be.
Oh,
Yeah,
close
he's
enough.
nearly there. I actually,
Yeah, so
I'm gonna piggyback right off it and think the same way. I actually have Lamar Jackson my number 7 as well,
Oh wow, look at that.
and I've always liked Lamar Jackson. He brings something, like, I give credit to guys that just show something that other quarterbacks are going to do. He is not like the Derek Carrs, the Kirk Cousins, the Dak Prescotts. This guy is elite as a playmaker. He's never had the weapons around him. He's never played in an offense where he needed to throw the ball as well. The offense he's played in, he's been incredible at. Like, say what you want. He runs, more than than he passes, but that's the offense he needed. Guy's always been elite. I've always been a fan of Lamar Jackson. I think he gets way too much criticism than he ever deserves.
Yeah.
It's sure he gets hurt, sure, but you know what? Tua gets hurt. Aaron Rodgers has been hurt. Every quarterback in the league has been hurt. There's not many quarterbacks out. Joe Burrow's been hurt. Josh Allen, if he keeps running the ball, as much, if Josh Allen ran the ball nearly as much as Lamar Jackson, he would be hurt. I don't understand why he gets nearly as much hate.
How much of last year was a business decision? He didn't have the contract yet. The Ravens didn't give him the contract. He wanted to not play. He wanted like
I
I'm not saying he held
I'm not that.
I'm not saying he held out intentionally, but I'm telling you, there's a freaking difference when you know you have something in your pocket and you don't. There's a difference to get back.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't buy into that because I think ultimately every game they go out there and they play. Look at Joe Flacco. The guy came out of nowhere, won a Super Bowl, and look how much money he made. If Lamar Jackson went out there, even made the Super Bowl, he would have looked at a lot more money than what he's making now. I just
He
him not
wasn't
playing.
going to the Super. He was not. He was going to beat the Bills last year, the Bengals, and the Chiefs. Tim, stop. They were not going to the Super Bowl.
I don't. But what is sitting out games going to help you? Business decision. You not playing is not helping your business.
He wasn't fully healthy.
He
They're
wasn't
already
fully
thinking
healthy.
you're an injury concern.
If he went out and played poorly, they would have used that as leverage. Or if he went out with a significant injury, that would have been the offseason medical. We can't give you a long-term contract.
So wait, so him not playing wasn't used against him? This dude can't stay healthy. That's why we don't want to give him a big contract. I think that's a bigger narrative.
He got a
than
big
him.
contract, Tim. Tim, he did get paid. So your argument doesn't make sense. He didn't play and he got paid because it was not a significant injury that was going to stop him.
Listen, I like Lamar. He deserved the contract he got. I don't believe that him sitting out games was a business decision. I think that helped fuel the narrative of, oh, this guy cannot stay healthy. I think if he went out there and say he was healthy, he lost in the first round of the playoffs, second round of the playoffs, he still would have got the contract he got. I don't think sitting out games helped his stance. I like him. He's an elite quarterback. I don't think all the hatred and the slights against him is idiotic.
No, it was impartial business decision because he knew if he went out there not fully healthy, A, he wasn't going to play his best, and B, there's a chance he could have gotten hurt. So all those things they combine.
But did it help him sitting out games? Did that help him?
Probably squeeze a couple more millions out of the Ravens.
I think it would have hurt him worse had he showed up and he had 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I agree.
He tried to come back and play, or if he came back and he tore his ACL. Or he made whatever.
All right, sure. Yeah. Listen,
one.
If he had a significant injury, then of course. But he could show up at week 1 next year, and that's a detriment. I think in his position, a running quarterback, a mobile quarterback, which is always going to be his, what he's defined as, getting hurt and missing games is not helping him. I think if he went out there and played, he still would have got the contract he had because he deserved it. He's been an elite quarterback since he's gotten the league. I don't think missing games helped him.
I just don't think I'm trying to say I don't think he's as injury prone. I don't think he was as hurt as missing as much of the last season as he did. I think he had an ability to come back.
I do.
He
could have played. He wouldn't have been 100%, but he could have played.
Hold on.
Yes.
If he played for the Chiefs, if he was on the Chiefs roster last year and he already had the contract he had, I bet he came back and played. If he was a team that was Super Bowl trajectory, which the Ravens were not. If he was a Super Bowl trajectory team already paid, he would have played last year. I can guarantee it. Snoop Huntley would not have been making the Pro Bowl with more picks than touchdowns if he was on the Chiefs and not the Ravens.
I don't see the advantage in that. What he did not get paid from last year. He was an elite quarterback before last year happened. He should have got paid before last year. He was incredible. He's always been incredible.
Right.
So I don't think missing games helped it. I don't think that. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what Lamar Jackson was feeling. I don't think missing games helped him get a contract. I don't think holding back if he was healthy helped him get a contract. I think him having the MVP season, him showing that he's a franchise quarterback before the last year started, got him the contract. I think it was just a matter of timing. It was going to happen, which it ultimately did. The Ravens said that from the get-go. I think Lamar knew it was going to happen anyway. I don't see the advantage of missing games purposely if you're healthy when the only concern you have with Lamar Jackson is that the guy can't stay healthy. So I don't understand why missing games would help you in that situation.
I don't think he was walking around at 100%, just said, I'm not playing. Every NFL quarterback and player plays injured. To some degree, they play hurt, banged up, bruised. We saw Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I just
Minus
don't
a
think it
big
was
injury,
worth it
though.
to him to come back.
Minus a big injury, though, what would have missed? Every playoff game he won. Say they won the first round of the playoff game. That's more success every time. I mean, that would have matched his career best. Going to the second round of the playoffs is the best they've ever done. Had he
Yeah,
won one
but it
playoff
was a
game, that
risk.
matches his career best. Sure. I mean, every game they play is a risk. Look at Tua. We just said every time he shows up, he's
Yeah, but
at
no,
risk.
I like Nick was saying that Ravens team was not going to the Super Bowl. They were way too injured all year. They went through like 40 running backs. It just wasn't going to
And
work.
do you know who they played in the wild card last year? The Bengals.
Who?
Were they beating the Bengals? No shot.
No, no.
No
But you
shot.
know what? If
They were-
you beat Joe Burrow, your division rival for the next decade, then you know what? We can talk about a fully guaranteed contract. If you're not going to suit up, then we're not even going to speak about it.
All right, all right.
I
He
mean,
got the
I think
biggest
the potential's there.
whatever.
Enough on Lamar.
I mean, listen, I just don't see. I like Lamar. I've always liked Lamar. Lamar's an elite quarterback. I just don't see in what world sitting out games would have helped his situation. He was an elite quarterback, always has been. I don't see how missing games is going to help that situation.
I just think it was pure. He just wanted to be fully healthy for next year. So
I mean, sure. I mean, I don't know. If I was Baltimore, I wouldn't want to hear that. But I'd like to think that, if Lamar was healthy, he would have been out there playing games. But
I mean, Huntley was doing kind of enough.
Huntley sucked. You need a Lamar Jackson out there if you're going to win some games.
He made the Pro Bowl.
And I think if Lamar Jackson was fully healthy, he would have been out there. Yeah.
All right, well, we've already mentioned Joe Flacco and Huntley way too many times in the top 10 quarterback episode. So let's move on to my number 7, who honestly, I'm kind of convinced that the way this episode's going, that this guy is your number 6. So I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers here at number 7. So I'm going to paint a quick picture for you. So 15 years ago, Brett Favre
here we go.
was traded to the Jets after threatening to retire. Sounds like
only Dakota brings up 15 years ago when he does his top 10.
Only Tim keeps interrupting me every time I talk. In
2008, Chandler Jones, offensive rookie of the year, defensive player of the year. Go ahead.
In 2008, the Jets were 8-3 and going into week 12, and with 6 games left, they collapsed because Brett Favre got hurt because he's older, and just they weren't the same. They missed the playoffs, and then that whole season was done. Am I saying Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Jets and do the same thing? No, but it's important to know he's getting up there in age. He's like, what, 39 yet? 39 or something like that, I think. 36 maybe. But it's, back-to-back MVPs the previous 2 years. Had a still good year. I mean, 26 touchdowns with a broken thumb. Has a pretty solid wide receiver group, but like Nick has said in every episode for the quarterback rankings we've done, he just doesn't get it done anymore. And the Packers missed the playoffs. Like they didn't do shit this year. And I mean, the haul wasn't too bad for what the Jets got, but I just think at this point in his career, I'm not saying he has anything to prove, but I'm skeptical that he's going to go to New York and they're going to magically be this juggernaut. I just don't see it. He's still top 10, absolutely, but I don't have him top 5 anymore. So.
Well, that's fair and very good timing because he is in fact my number 6 player. So
see, thank you.
This is good time for this. I'm not going to sit here and go through his stats last year. We all know the guy didn't want to be there. We all know that he decided at some point that he was done. He was done with their young receivers.
Another business decision.
He was just done. He was done. He went to a team in a situation where they have weapons galore. I mean, this Jets offense. I still don't know why they didn't want Elijah Moore in town. Because I think that only would have helped.
Gary Wilson's pretty good, though.
Yeah, but Gary Wilson, I think is going to be legit, like top 7 receiver type of year this year. So I think he's got a great defense. Yeah, I think he's got a really, Breece Hall. The offense is nice, and I think he's going to get exactly what he needed in a fresh start in a shiny new place. Aaron Rodgers in the New York market is going to be as obnoxious as it sounds, but I do think he'll have a good year. I'm still not confident he does a single thing in the playoffs because you've got the Bengals who've been together many years you got the Chiefs, you've got the Bills.
Yep.
I just the Rodgers effect, man. He'll have a great regular season. He may even have an MVP caliber season, finish 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, but he won't get it done, and that's why I have him. where he is at number 6, looking into the top 5. I had him at 3 last year. He had a really disappointing year. Talent's still there, I think. It's not like he was all of a sudden, like didn't have the arm or the wrist flick, touch pass he's always had.
Yeah.
But he just can't get it done in the playoffs. I mean, him only having one Super Bowl is such a mind-blowing thing because how many years, was it a decade if we talk about him as a top 3 or 4 quarterback and all those MVPs, and the guy still only has one ring.
Four MVPs and one ring.
Eli Manning has more Super Bowl wins than Aaron Rodgers does. It's just
Crazy.
it's amazing.
Hey, big time players. I'll give you a 2-for-1 special because I think it rolls into each other. I do have Aaron Rodgers, but he's not my number 6. He's my number 5, actually. And I'll echo some of the same things you said. He was number 2 I had last year, so I know. But I'm bringing him down. Obviously, I'm not going to repeat the same things you said. I've made it very clear I cannot stand the Aaron Rodgers charade. And Nick hit on it. My God, Aaron Rodgers in the New York media is just going to be terrible. It is going to be so awful.
I think he'll be a little
No
subdued.
one can stand it. I don't think so. I think it's going to be even worse somehow than what it was in Green Bay. But I'm not going to ignore the fact that he's still a good quarterback. I mean, he's been very disappointing. Obviously, I'm going to bring him down from number 2 where I am last year, but he's number 5 for me. Number 6, though, I've got Justin Herbert.
Okay.
Who is, you know what? I mean, listen, we all like Justin Herbert, and I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but I'm also not saying that Philip Rivers is a bad quarterback. But until he starts doing something, he's giving me more Philip Rivers vibes than anything else. He's putting up some nice numbers, but let's not act like he's not playing with some really good players around him. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and Austin Eckler. Find me a better group of wide receivers / running backs. You want to throw Hunter Henry in there? Go ahead. I think skill players wise, he's got some of the best. I think when it comes to big games and, winning in the playoffs, I mean, we can rip Aaron Rodgers all we want, but he's been irrelevant for a while. But Justin Herbert has literally done nothing. Like, nothing. I don't think he's won a playoff game. His embarrassing performance, and I know it was more of a team performance, but he was just as much involved in that embarrassing collapse to the Jaguars in the playoffs. I'll take Aaron Rodgers.
27-0 collapse is pretty terrible.
Like, listen, I'm not going to let the franchise quarterback off the hook for that one. So I had him at number 5 last year. He has to move down off of just solely that game, I think, alone. And the fact that I think from what everyone was expecting going into the year, last year was kind of a disappointment. Everyone expected Herbert to make the jump, and he didn't. He kind of gave you exactly what he did last year, maybe even worse if you want to, argue that. But, I mean, Rodgers at one time or another gave you, the talent that you expected. He won a Super Bowl. He gave you a couple MVPs. I cannot. I'm just dreading the New York media with Rodgers. But at the same time, I think he's going to come out and ball out in the new media or new team. If there is nothing more Aaron Rodgers than saying, I'm going to now start playing football, than getting traded to a team you announced a month before you were actually traded to, and sitting sidelines at every game with all of your teammates in your new market. So I went with Herbert, who's never done anything, to Rodgers, who hasn't done anything recently, but I'll give him credit. He's pretty good. He's got a new chance on a new team, and I think he's going to come out a little stronger than what we got last year.
So I'm pretty surprised by your list so far, Tim. It's a little you were a big Justin Herbert supporter the previous rankings, so I'm surprised to see him drop down there for you.
Unlike you, when people have bad years, they don't get rewarded. They move down in my list.
So I had a whole nice little speech here, so I'm still gonna say it, but you did steal some of my thunder. So this player is, in my opinion, might be what Nick likes to call the stat patter or the second coming of Matt Stafford. And I hate to agree with Tim, but I got Justin Herbert here, number 6, man. Like
Philip Rivers 2.0.
25 touchdowns and a 6.8 yards per pass attempt, but over 4,700 yards. Like, that's just like, I don't know. And it's just the 27-point lead that you blow in the playoffs. Like, your offense is so talented. You have so many good players. You can't score another point. Like, the collapse was bad. And he hasn't, while his counterparts have been winning, he hasn't. Like, you have Joe Burrow is out here winning, and he's just
still losing playoff games. So he was supposed to be the change in not San Diego, but the Chargers. And like Tim just said, it's kind of Philip Rivers 2.0. So yeah, I don't really buy into any of this Kellen Moore hoopla either. I mean, he was a garbage quarterback when he was in the NFL. He was a good coordinator with Dak. I mean, he definitely helped him improve a little bit, but I don't see Kellen Moore coming in and making, Justin Herbert some kind of god. Um, so I mean, if you look at Prescott's numbers, he only attempted 10.8% of his passes were over 20 yards. So I mean, Herbert's got a good arm, but a lot of this dink and dunk and that 6.8 yards per pass thing is going to come back into play. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not rooting against him. I like, some Oregon products, but it's tough to see. I don't know what his outlook's going to be.
Well, it's a beautiful transition because Justin Herbert is my number 5.
This is crazy.
and I ended up putting him at 5 over 6 because I'm going to put some hope into. He is still so young. Like, I know some guys pop immediately, or Burrow, Mahomes, and we get into this groove of just thinking everybody by year 2 or 3 needs to be like top of their game and killing shit. He may just be a stat pattern. He may be a Matthew Stafford, and I'm not going to say may not be the Michael Carter Williams rookie season of the NFL, because it's absolutely possible.
Oof.
But if you're going to design a quarterback, it would be Justin Herbert. In not modern NFL, you want to be more mobile, but like traditional growing up NFL, 6'5", cannon of an arm, 68.2% completion percentage. Like, he was third in the NFL, 1/10 of a percentage behind Joe Burrow. So like, the way football has been until all of a sudden Mahomes and Hurts and guys who can move a little more, but he's a very prototypical quarterback, which is going to have its limitations in the modern NFL, but he's got an ability to sling. He's got weapons. He's got a team around him. That 27-0 collapse is awful. And I think he's going to go now. I've always said there's a difference between, in baseball, a thrower and a pitcher. And I think there's a difference between like a quarterback who's a good quarterback and a winner. And he's not at that winner stage yet. No. But I think that, like, given his age and given everything, I was like, I'm going to hope he has enough moxie to blow a 27-0 lead. And that's something that eats at him and like really got him to grind this offseason. And now we're going to see him come in this year and have a really big year. He's got all the arm talent in the world. I mean, he's a freak athletically. The 25 touchdowns is really disappointing.
Yeah. I saw that.
Because all those yards and that completion percentage is crazy.
But it was.
Yeah.
I mean, going off of what Nick said, like, I agree. Like, but you know what? Philip Rivers was also all those measurables pretty much. Had an arm, cannon for an arm, accurate, same height. Like, I was all on Justin Herbert last year, but this year he reminds me too much like Philip Rivers. And going off the guy we've mentioned who beat him, I'm more confident in Trevor Lawrence. He is a winner. He showed me he's more of a winner. You get rid of the buffoon that was coaching him his rookie year. I mean, he went out there, he won games. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not taking, Herbert's my 6. I haven't put him in, behind Lawrence, but
yeah,
he's, we're not going to just keep talking about how great Herbert is until he starts putting this together. But I mean, I had Rodgers at my 5, Herbert at my 6. So I'll roll. Dakota, you can have your floor on your number 5.
All right. So my number 5. But I will say, I respect you guys. You're very intelligent. Tim, maybe not so much.
Oh,
but,
here we go.
But you're forgetting.
Here we go.
You're forgetting the very, very important 3-year rule that a lot of quarterbacks in their 3rd year will take a crazy leap. Look at Josh Allen. Look at Jalen Hurts. So my number 5 is a man he's a second half man. Had a phenomenal second half of his season, phenomenal second half of a playoff game. Trevor Lawrence. Sam, you kind of alluded to it. You said you think he could jump into that top 5 realm. So I'm going to make that apparent now that I do think he is.
Wow.
I mean, add Calvin Ridley to that already pretty explosive offense. It's pretty enticing. I mean, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and coming off his rookie year, which was 12 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. That's a huge flip. I don't know. The stars are aligning in Jacksonville, man. I'm excited. I like that Doug's down there. I can kind of root for them a little bit, you know. So I think Trevor Lawrence,
I'm proud
he
of you.
came out in the draft. He was supposed to be the next big thing. Had a really bad rookie year. Obviously, he had a questionable coach, but I think he's putting it together, and I'm excited. I want to see if this, that third year, he's able to finally put it together, and we see the real Trevor Lawrence. So
This is a big moment for you, Dakota. You're usually always a year late. I'm like,
I'm
I
right on time,
appreciate
baby.
you. Well, I don't know about that, but you're trying to get ahead of it. I appreciate that. You're striving to be a year early.
So I'm gonna start off number 4 by saying 2 through 4. I said this to Dakota earlier. Depending on which narrative you want to push, you could reorder this in many different ways.
Mhm.
If you could go trajectory, you could go performance they've already had, you could go natural talent, you could go a lot of different ways. So I'm going to look at number 4 and I'm going to say phenomenal statistics last year and also embarrassing statistics at the exact same time. Because this guy had over 5,000 total yards,
Yep.
42 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, second in the NFL in fumbles lost, way too many red zone turnovers, way too many. And I'll never forget that turnover he had on the goal line
God.
this year. I'm losing that. That
Horrible.
was the craziest ending I've ever seen. And do you know he has 80 turnovers in his 5-year career? 80 turnovers in his 5-year career. Natural talent. And you guys said something during your wide receiver podcast I'd like to bring up in this. You said if Stephon Diggs was not playing, that Bills offense would be terrible. And I agree. They would be done. If you took the number 1 option off number 1, number 2, and number 3 quarterback, those offenses would still pull up 30 plus a game. I feel very confident in saying that. If you took A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, or I don't know, I guess Kelsey would be Mahomes' number 1 option, I guarantee you those offenses still click. Josh Allen, phenomenal talent, phenomenal capabilities. They were supposed to be the Super Bowl team last year. That was what I was told. Everyone, it's Josh Allen's year. It's Josh Allen's year. This is the year he gets over the hump. And he's been knocking at that door. Now, all of a sudden, Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, I think, are kind of pushing him to the side in the argument of who's going to be the king and prince of the AFC. And so that's why I'm going to go with Josh Allen, number 4.
Nick, I'm glad that
honest,
after all this like one-off we were having that we finally matched, I also have Josh Allen at number 4.
oh, there's a clean sweep because I would agree with you.
Oh,
It's a clean sweep. And you know what?
wow.
I would say I'd echo the same things Nick said, but I honestly, he's so far off top 3. I really don't think it's close. Like he is just so reckless, and he's
He is
been like,
reckless.
listen, you want to talk about quarterbacks that never show up in a big game? Like Nick hit on the head. They were supposed to win the last 3 Super Bowls, and they haven't sniffed a game that mattered.
Yeah,
He's so reckless. The team's been good. I actually don't think it's close between top 3 and him.
Yeah, he's like my Justin Herbert for Tim because I was always big on Josh Allen. I think he's like he has all the tangibles you want, like strong, he can run, he's got a great arm, can make some really crazy throws, but like he's still like some of the plays he makes are just like very bonehead, very like not thinking all the way through. I just like Nick mentioned that the red zone play, like you can't do that. Like it's just too many little mistakes that become big mistakes and then cost you games. And for
He got too much
me,
Carson Wentz in his game.
for me,
I watched him lose his team 3 games this year. I watched him individually lose his team 3 games.
He's borderline Carson Wentz. I mean, he's a bet. I mean, I'm not going to say they're nearly the same play, but he's got a lot of Carson Wentz in his
I would
game.
argue these top 4 quarterbacks that we all seem to have the same ones. They're all in a similar spot where they have really good offense, defense they can usually rely on, and good coaching. And Josh Allen he's just not meeting expectations. That's the best way I can put it. For him to not have gotten to sniff the Super Bowl yet is a concern. But phenomenal, great player. Just we need the consistency. Need more consistency.
And Dakota, I just want to piggyback off that because I think you make a great point. All of these four do have great offenses, great coaching, great so legit defenses. I think Josh Allen's the only one of the four who doesn't make the people around him better. I think the other three make their team better. I think Josh Allen, he's good, but he doesn't Stephon Diggs is phenomenal without him. Stephon Diggs was great with Kirk Cousins.
Right.
It's not like Josh Allen makes Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs would be that no matter where he played.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen doesn't make anybody better.
Well, I mean, I do think he makes the offense better. I mean, they don't have a run game. Their run game is Josh Allen, but he's just so
but that's him.
reckless.
But that's him. That's him performing. I think that Devontae Smith is a 1B receiver because of the Eagles. Mm-hmm. I think if you put Devontae Smith with Kirk Cousins, I don't see the same transition. I think Joe Burrow makes T. Higgins a legit 1B player. I don't think T. Higgins on every team is a number one receiver. And we know what Mahomes did. And Mahomes just resurrected Kadarius Toney's career. That guy was out of the NFL. And look at him
I mean, Josh Allen, I think is, it's 1, 2, 3, and then Josh Allen. I don't necessarily think he's close to the 1, 2, 3, but his problem is he's just so reckless. I think he's got plenty of playmaking ability. I think when it comes to running game, I mean, he gives so much in the running game that he doesn't get credit for. I think their biggest hindrance on offense is that they don't give him a running game. They have to put him in spots where he has to make incredible plays and hold on to the ball way too long and, fumble the ball a ton. I mean, when you're the lead carrier on your team, you're going to fumble the ball a ton. But, I mean, yeah, he's not even close to the top three, in my opinion, because he just doesn't come up in the big moments. He's not really I'm going to take over this game and win it. Puts up nice stats. He is an impact player. I think he does make the offense player. I think he's an impact player. I just think that consistency and big moments and just his lack of responsibility with the ball is just holding him back from the other three.
Yeah, and it sucks because you want him to be good because you see it, and he definitely has a heart and a passion for the game. It's just I don't know. I mean, we saw one of the best duels between quarterbacks when him and Mahomes had that that playoff game that went down to overtime.
That was a great game.
Phenomenal game, one of the best games I've watched, and just sucks. You don't get that enough of him, and I think you make a good point. Where a lot of quarterbacks are bringing their team over the top, his mistakes are a train wreck.
He's holding his team back. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about you.
The offense is literally him. A lot like Jalen Hurts.
Sure.
He is the offense.
But
he is everything that offense is. I mean, I would say that Stephon Diggs has enhanced his game since Minnesota. I mean, I thought he was, a 1B, 2 wide receiver since then. I think he's made the whole offense better, but at the same time, he's not taking advantage of it. I mean, we'll get to Mahomes and all that, but those guys lost elite talent. I mean, Allen's been playing with, Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, UCF great and great offensive line and zero running game, but he's done nothing. I don't know. I mean, I just think we've been waiting and we were praising for Josh Allen almost to the point of Justin Herbert, where we've been praising and waiting for so long, and here we are with nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
Well, and now he's gonna get Madden cursed, so now he's definitely not gonna have a good year.
We'll see. We'll see. I know the Madden curse has been kind of iffy.
So
lately,
crack the top three. This is I think where it really gets into it.
Yeah. So this was tough. I'm gonna be honest. The 2 and 3, I went back and forth a lot. But I think ultimately I'm going to go Hurts here at 3. Phenomenal leap. I would argue one of the best leaps we've seen a player make. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about, is this guy even going to be an NFL starter? And then he was the leader in the MVP until he got hurt. Until he gets hurt. Only lost 1 game all year, and unfortunately, I was at that Washington game. And because Quez Watkins can't hold onto a ball, and Goddard gets face mask, they don't call, and comedy of errors.
They needed that loss to kind of reset stuff, but
no, they did. But here's the thing: he had a phenomenal year, and I think that he's only going to come back hungrier after that Super Bowl loss. I mean, he arguably should have won MVP in the Super Bowl. it was amazing to watch him this year. The jump, the growth, it was funny because everybody was so worried about his arm. And that guy loves to throw the deep ball, man.
Oh yeah.
He threw so many deep balls last year. And it's like you were sitting here talking about Justin Herbert dinking and dunking. Everybody praises his arm. And everybody's all over Jalen Hurts' arm. And I was watching him throwing 30, 40-yard bombs to A.J. Brown, Quez, and Devontae
That's
Smith
true. Did it all
every
year.
single
All
week.
year.
He
Every week.
All week.
he satellite chucks those. They go
He was
straight up in the
money.
air.
So accurate.
And you know what's amazing too is they tried to he ran a play so successfully the NFL tried to have it banned. Think
That's
about
true.
that.
That's
The
true.
QB sneak
Yeah.
has been happening for forever.
The fact that they
Forever.
tried to outlaw it is absolutely bonkers to me. Like it's
Like,
literally part of the game.
yeah.
Anybody else?
How do you take that
It's
out?
part of the game. It's part of the game. It's QB sneak has been a part of football since football has started.
Yeah.
And he's just better at it because he can squat 600 pounds and
Hey,
they can't.
perfected it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Like-
think that's when you have Jalen Hurts as a quarterback. I'm assuming, Dakota, from your facial expressions and knowing you for as long as I've done, I'm assuming you also have Jalen Hurts at 3.
I do have Jalen Hurts at number 3. Yeah.
I do have, yeah. Me too. So it's a clean sweep, and
Oh,
I'm
wow.
proud of
Look
that.
at us.
Man, it's
Look at us.
Oh.
listen. I mean, I
Consensus
I can piggyback off.
top 4?
Well, because we were getting pretty rough, the 8 to 10 there.
Yeah,
But
wow.
nice
Yeah, but
comeback.
you know what?
Consensus top 4 is nice.
I feel like quarterbacks are kind of like that. And I mean, I love Hurts, and Hurts has been incredible, and I could piggyback and repeat everything Nick just said, but I think I'll ease into why I'm assuming all of our number 2s a little bit higher. And I think mostly listen, Hurts is not a system quarterback. Chris Sims can, I think he's eating those
a
words ever
moron.
since, or Phil Sims, or whoever
Sims
irrelevant,
is a moron.
Sims it is. He is not a system quarterback. The guy made leaps and bounds. That team is not just like, we talked, we talked about Josh Allen. Like he's in a good system. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a playmaker, but Jalen Hurts is the offense. Like that team is incredible because Jalen Hurts is leading that team. My only difference maker was that I've seen Joe Burrow go out there and prove it with a far, far worse team. The guy's played against a joke of an offensive line his entire career. I mean, he went to a Super Bowl with a Swiss cheese as his offensive line last year. And, Hurts had a great offensive line. And don't get me wrong, Hurts is incredible. But I've seen Burrow, 1, do it longer. And by longer, I mean 1 more year. And 2, I've seen him do it with less. I mean, his wide receiver talent is incredible. But when you factor in offensive line and just some other things that Hurts has got, I put Joey B a little bit higher. And, I mean, to be fair, if you factor in the fact that the guy got hurt his rookie year, he's been nothing but exceptional since he got into the league. He's never had a learning curve. I'm not going to hold that against Hurts, but we saw some bad games from Hurts in the beginning, as you would expect from any young quarterback. But the only reason why I went Burrow is, one, the longer track record, the inferior talent around him. But I mean, this is a 2 and 3. You could split hairs. I think 1 is easy. I don't think Josh Allen's even sniffing top 3, but 2 and 3, you could literally split hairs.
I will say on Jalen, so normally when I make these lists, I start at 10 and then I work my way up to 1. I started at 1 and I went backwards because I knew 2, 3, 4 was going to be the hardest decision on the entire list. But I'll not to touch on Joe, but for me to choose Jalen over or Josh Allen was really the fact that I just looked at what he did last year, and for someone who had 304 passing yards, 70 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns in a game that his opponents were saying he should have won Super Bowl MVP in a loss, that tells you a lot. And he was able to get over that hump. And like we talked about Josh Allen enough, but like Jalen is just, when you see quarterbacks have years like that where they just possible MVP years, a lot of times they drop off. A lot of times they can't sustain it. But I don't think we've come across many quarterbacks that have the mindset of Jalen Hurts. He is just on another planet as far as his mentality, his grind, his willingness to work and to get better. And I'm so glad that he is on our team and not another team. But it's crazy. I'm really excited to see, not just as like an Eagles fan, I just see him grow, to how much work and heart is in him to be the best of himself and to help his teammates. he's built different, and I'm happy to be joining that ride. So not much more to add. We watch him, you know, every day or every week, whatever. But
You're like
I
his hype man. Didn't you have Joe Burrow ranked at number 2? I mean, should we cut
well,
this love fest short, or are you gonna ignore that one?
I'm just making a point that we've seen years where quarterbacks or any player really will have a phenomenal statistic year, have success in the league, whatever, but then they'll drop off. But I just think
Yeah.
I think he won't let that happen as best as he can control, right? That's kind of all I'm getting at.
I do want to hit because I didn't bring that up was the Jalen versus Josh Allen difference in 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen was supposed to be here and he
Right.
finished here. Jalen was supposed to be here and he finished here. Josh Allen was supposed to bring them to the Super Bowl and they lost in the divisional. Jalen wasn't even supposed to be the quarterback and they went to the Super Bowl. That to me is that's a winner versus a
Yep.
quarterback.
That's
And
basically
then
how I was
2 to
able
3,
to flip that.
yeah, and 2 to 3 for me, Joe Burrow over Jalen was over the last 2 years. Burrow's thrown for 9,086 yards, 69 touchdowns, a Super Bowl appearance, and a conference championship loss.
Yep.
So he just did it one more year. So he's giving me one more year of evidence that he can get it done. Jalen Hurts. Now, if Jalen goes to a Super Bowl this year and Burrow doesn't, I could come back here and say, like, he's number 2 for me.
Yeah.
He's not going to jump Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean,
he could win the Super Bowl and the MVP. He's not going to jump Mahomes this year, but like,
yeah,
Yeah.
he's got to do it twice.
yeah, Burrow he's done it a year longer. Both have a great offense. I think you could make the argument that Burrow is the best wide receiver trio in football. But he gets it done, man. The guy is a winner. And I watched that national championship when he was at LSU, and it was just like, man, this guy is a dog, and he's been that dog since he came to the NFL.
Go Bird.
And he's done it 1 year longer than Jalen. Jalen can eventually leapfrog him. I don't think Josh Allen is jumping those two though. To be honest with you, Josh doesn't have that same, and to me, and this is just my perception.
He's not even close.
I don't think
not even close.
He doesn't have the mentality of Burrow, and Burrow and Hurts are like such competitive. Like they're just another level of competitor that I just don't see in Josh Allen.
They're not careless. I mean, Josh Allen reminds you like of Carson Wentz way too much to ever be considered a top 3 quarterback. But regardless, I mean, we're all unanimous here. So why don't we let the guest kick it off?
Yeah.
Well, let me touch a little.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dakota.
I mean, so we're all number 2, Joe Burrow. And I really have nothing. I just wanted to say that, but I really have nothing to add because Nick.
That was it. That was the whole point.
Nick,
you just wanted to make an announcement that he's number 2.
He made all the points
just
that I was
because
going to make.
Know?
I was literally going to say, well, he did it another year that Jalen hasn't done it, and I was like, so yeah, okay, who's number 1?
So number 1, man, I got to tell you, when I saw him limping at the end of the first half of the Super Bowl, I was like, we are up by 10. He can't walk. Game's over. Like, send the house. We're going to be fine.
They hooked him up with something good.
Whatever shot they shot that dude up with is like military grade. It's got to be because he came back out in that second half and he was unbelievable.
Unstoppable.
Like it was incredible. I don't think I've ever hated a defensive coordinator the same way I hate Jonathan Gannon, who couldn't get one singular stop.
I can't stand him.
But I don't want to take that away from Mahomes. I mean, he had over 5,500 total yards last year. Like he played out of his mind. They got rid of Tyreek Hill, and everybody thought that was going to be like, oh, they don't have Hill anymore, and Juju's their new number 1, and they're like, they're not going to be the same. And he didn't miss a beat. He had just as good, if not better, year. I heard somebody talking about this, where it almost made him have to be a better quarterback because he could no longer do I'm just going to throw it down somewhere and Tyreek will go get it. Like he had to become a very good, because he was throwing to, other than Travis Kelce, he wasn't throwing to anybody that impressive. And Pacheco was a 7th-round pick, and Edwards-Helaire wasn't who they thought he was going to be. And,
Tony was a nobody.
Tony was, it's just like, he was just that phenomenal. He's been that phenomenal. He's like, he went from the baby goat to like, we can probably call him like the preteen goat at this point.
Preteen goat.
The guy owns an MLB baseball team, so we should probably show him a little more respect than baby goat. He's phenomenal. I mean, just watching the guy play football is an incredible spectacle. Every stat you can think of, he's done. The guy he goes to AFC Championship games every year. He's been to a conference
It's
championship
true.
game
Yeah.
every year. He's been a starter. Like,
Yeah.
imagine if every year he's going to start. You're going to a conference championship. Like, he's been that good. He matter of fact, he not only won 2 Super Bowls, he's lost a Super Bowl, and we forget that's how often he's been. Like, it's just so normal. He's already been to 3 Super Bowls. Like,
Crazy.
he's so good. And he's just going to continue, I think, to get better. And
I think
just amazing to watch.
we can't emphasize enough though how much we hate Jonathan Gannon and how much that buffoon is an idiot. Can't stand Jonathan Gannon, but I mean, we'll ignore that for right now. Obviously, he's number one. I mean, he was kind of already sniffing this door, but he's comfortably in the Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Drew Brees tier of quarterbacks of greatest of all times. Joe Montana, if you want to throw him in there, but he's in that. I mean, now it's just historical greatness with him for at this moment. He's MVPs, Super Bowls.
I was gonna say what's most crazy, honestly, about Pat Mahomes is we know consensus like he is the best quarterback in the league. Everyone knows this, and it's like just pure talent, right? But then you look at like his stats, like even last year, he's still number one in many categories. Like number one in yards, number one in touchdowns, number one in touchdown percentage, number two in yards per attempt, number two in QBR. Like just he is unanimously like the best, but every year, in case you forgot, he still proves it on the stat sheet for you. So he's one of a kind. I will say I wrote for all these players, I wrote down about a paragraph or so of just talking points or notes. For Mahomes, I have one sentence, and I just wrote, "He is a demon. What else is there to say?" Because he doesn't.
A demon. Wow,
he doesn't.
That's a big word.
He doesn't need any kind of defense. Like we know who he is, and what it's crazy that he's already at this Tom Brady top five, probably top five quarterback of all time at this point. So
he's definitely top five quarterback of all time.
It's wild. But
apparently he's demonic. Talking to Dakota.
Demon in like a good way, like unstoppable, a force, whatever.
Thank you for clarifying that.
You seemed confused, so I needed to educate you. I thought.
Oh, thank you. I mean, demon wasn't the first word that popped in my head, but I see where you're going.
I got to say a consensus top four, and it's
I was surprised.
This might be the first year that's happened. This might be the first year that's happened. But I think it's very interesting the tiers at the top, right? Because I think we can all pretty comfortably say like Mahomes is his own tier, Burrow and Jalen are another tier, Josh Allen is his own tier, and then it's kind of like
wide open,
pretty significant drop at that point. Like you could tell me like almost any reorder of people are going to be 5 through 10 next year, but 1 through 4 for any of them to like move feels so hard for that to even fathom something like that.
Yeah, another interesting point too is, I mean, on my list at least, I have 2 quarterbacks from the NFC and 8 from the AFC. That just shows you the changing of the guard that we've been seeing. I would argue that is talent. The NFC has probably more balance and talented teams, but the AFC is just so top heavy and has all the elite quarterbacks on their side, which is it's interesting to see that.
The AFC is very top heavy.
It is.
The guys at the top of the AFC, like the Chiefs,
Bills,
Bengals,
Chiefs, Bengals, yeah. NFC is kind of wide open.
They're significantly better than.
I mean, a lot of our wild card teams come from the AFC, though. Like, we'll see what the Jaguars do, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Browns. There's a lot of uncertainty. Or the Jets. It seems like a clear and easy pathway for the only quarterback I had from the NFC in these top rankings, compared to the AFC.
Where do we think that the not to drag this on any longer than it's already a long episode, but where do we think the rookie QBs are gonna fall into line here?
I mean, I like Young. I mean, I think he's accurate. None of them are getting me super excited. I think we're still 2 years away from any of them even sniffing this list.
Nobody's in a situation that's exciting, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody And even Joe Burrow, when he got to the Bengals, they didn't have Jamar Chase yet.
Mhm.
Like you
No, they were
need
train
time
wrecked.
to build to build these teams out. Like, and Tyler Boyd was okay, and T. Higgins came in with Jamar Chase the same year. So there's the team still have to get built up. And what do the Colts do? Does Anthony Richardson
I
turn it like? Do they see something really exciting with him, and so they go out and get a piece? What happens with Jonathan Taylor? Does he have a bounce back year? Like
Yeah.
I was
it's
gonna say
hard to
Anthony
know. I think
Richardson is my. I
he
think
has the
he'll do
best.
the
He's the
best
best possibility.
outlook.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I
Richardson
like
has the best short term outlook.
yeah.
my problem is I like of the rookie quarterbacks, I like Stroud the best. I liked him as a prospect coming out, but I cannot even fathom success with the Houston Texans. That train wreck of an organization. There's no way success. I love D'Amico Ryans. Loved him when he was an Eagle. I thought he was a great head coach or defense coordinator.
Hmm.
I get they drafted you, but I can't understand why he would have ever taken that job. That train wreck of a franchise is embarrassing. But I
Can I?
like Ryans. I like Stroud. I thought Stroud was my favorite quarterback coming out of the draft.
Give me one quarterback we didn't talk about today that you feel like could be in your top 10 next year.
Next year that I didn't talk about today.
Because I have one
Hmm.
that jumps off immediately to me.
I mean,
Who do you got? Let me
Russ,
think about
but
it.
that's
Well, that's just idiotic on your part.
yeah. I don't. If you're gonna say Justin Fields, I'll disagree with you, but
Why?
I just don't. I don't see it.
I disagree with that. I
I
don't
don't
see it on
see it.
Justin Fields either. I think he runs, that's
Why?
nice. He runs and throws, he runs the ball a lot, but the team stunk. They didn't do anything. I haven't seen him make enough
He
like
didn't have anybody throw the
meaningful
he didn't have anybody
throws.
throw the ball to.
Sure, and they also
Who's
lost
he
every
throw?
game he
Who's he
played
Neither
throwing
did
into.
to?
Lamar, but Lamar still did a lot with nobody. I
Lamar still
just
won
don't.
games. Yeah, I mean,
Lamar's
I'm
an
not saying
MVP.
Jamal
That's
Justin.
not a fair comparison.
This is a
I
very
mean,
similar player type.
Justin Fields is, yeah. I mean, if we're all going to praise how great of a runner Justin Fields is, I thought he was more of a runner because the team stunk
He had a
and he
thousand
just
rushing
wasn't.
yards, but like
Yeah,
they didn't
I'm
really
not
win
taking that as a
games.
good. Yeah, I don't
I
see
know
that
that
as
they're
a
not
good
a good
track record.
team, but I'm just. We'll see now. They
I
have
think I
DJ
think
Moore is a good receiver, so we'll see
I
what
think
they
DJ
do.
Moore is going to make a big change to that offense.
Claypool.
I mean, Amon Ra's brother Equanimous was like their best receiver last year. Like, come on, dude, he had
Uh,
no shot at like the play he had against the Eagles when he broke that tackle. Hassan Reddick was one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen. Now, is he going to be like
Sure. I
a
mean, yeah, but
phenomenal quarterback?
yeah, I don't know.
He
That
could be
means
9 or
nothing
10.
when
I
I
knew.
He
sure,
could be
but
9 or 10.
Yeah. I
he
felt like you
ran
were
for
going
a
there.
thousand yards on a team that never won a game or won one game. A guy I actually, someone that'll be on this list, I think next year. I mean, maybe it's a cop out because we haven't seen him do anything. I think that with all the drama that Aaron
Jordan
Rodgers and all
Love.
that bullshit caused,
No.
I think Jordan Love, I think there's
No.
something there.
Oh wow.
No.
What makes you
No.
think he's not? What have you seen that makes you think he stinks?
I haven't
I'm
seen
not saying,
anything.
well, sure, you got no reason to hate on him then. I'm taking that approach.
I
I think LaFleur,
just
I like Matt
If
LaFleur.
he was
I think
fine when
LaFleur's a good
he was
coach.
fine when he came in to sub for Rodgers, but he didn't blow me away. I was like, oh my god, this guy's gonna be top 5. Like
Blow
I
you
just
away. That was
if
like what 2 quarters of football you saw away. I mean, he's giving you no reason to root against him. I like LaFleur as a
that's the
coach.
same.
You
That's the same argument you're making against Deshaun Watson that he only played in 6 games, and now you're telling me, oh,
no
now
no
it
no
doesn't
no
matter
no.
how much
Deshaun
time you play.
Watson, I've seen play, I've seen get arrested, and I've seen have
That's not what
multiple
this is
lawsuits
about.
put against Jordan Love and Deshaun Watson are even close to the same player.
Oh my goodness,
no Brock Purdy,
hell no,
No. Trey Lance over Brock Purdy. I'm not
hell
buying this.
no. My God, if I have to listen out a whiny
Trey Lance isn't going to
49ers
be on the
fan,
40. Trey Lance will not be on the 49ers by the end of this year. I guarantee
I'm
it.
not, but there's no way
Guarantee it.
there is no way they swallow
He won't be on the
pill that
Niners.
early. Oh, he
He
will
won't be
be.
on the Niners.
I'm
Nope.
taking Jordan Love between Trey Lance and Jordan
where's he
Love, who we've
going?
seen nothing from. I'm taking Jordan Love because for whatever reason Trey Lance can't beat out Brock Purdy. Jordan Love was trying to beat out Aaron Rodgers.
I don't
Only
like
Trey
I don't
Lance.
like Jordan Love or Justin Fields honestly for top 10.
Well, you like
Trey Lance is
so that's fair.
I said this in a previous Post-Fades Cheesesteaks pod. Trey Lance has taken as many college NFL snaps as Tom Brady did last year. Okay, he does not play. He does not play. He does not play.
You know what? Yeah, but you know what? They're not giving up on that. They gave up like 3 first-round draft picks. There's no way they're giving up on him now.
You You got to do what you got.
He's not going to be on the 49ers.
Where's
He's
he
not going
going?
to be on the 49ers.
What value are you getting? Is anyone getting a first round pick
Doesn't
for
matter.
Trey Lance? What's the perk of getting rid of him now?
Because it's going to be bad for the locker room because they're going to turn to Brock Purdy and they're going to need to get him out. It's not going to be good for the locker room.
He's been a backup his entire career. How is it bad for the locker room? He's only been a backup.
It was supposed to be his team. And
it was supposed to be his team last year, and Brock Purdy brought him to the NFC Championship game. There is absolutely no way they give up on him now. They gave up 3 first-round picks to get him. He's barely started 3 games. There's no way.
Dakota, be the tiebreaker. Dakota, is he on the team by the end of the year?
No.
I don't think so either.
You're insane. Where is he going? What team wants a quarterback right now? A starting quarterback?
It'll be a trade deadline move, but he's going to be gone.
I'm sure
there's
there's a good quarterback that's going to get hurt. Maybe Tampa takes him. I don't know.
So you think that Tampa, they're just going to ship Trey Lance off in a trade deadline deal for what, a 5th round pick after they drop 3 first rounds to get him?
They're going to get something back because they're not going to let him walk for nothing, and they're not. Are you picking up the 5th-year option on him? Tell me that. Are you picking?
Well, that's the thing.
Absolutely. I gave up 3 first-round picks from him. Of course I am.
No way.
Brock Purdy doesn't have an elbow. His elbow is disintegrated. This is not the moment to be getting rid of quarterbacks.
Yeah, this is what
we have modern science. He'll be fine.
The 49ers are train wreck because this is what they do every year. They have a quarterback who's often injured, and then they keep another quarterback who shouldn't really be on the team anymore around, and it never really goes super well for them. So I don't know. I think he'll stay.
I don't know. I don't see the advantage of getting rid of him.
I don't know. I'm telling you right now, Tim. Next time I see you, next beer. This is my bet to you right now. Whoever you get the first round.
To avoid a 5th-year option and get a 5th round pick, that's what you're going to give up Trey Lance for?
Tim, who's the starting quarterback for the 49ers? Going into the season?
Listen, I got to talk to the doctors, but Brock Purdy doesn't have an elbow currently. I think Trey Lance wins this job. I think you're going to be surprised. I don't. Well, Brock Purdy. Listen.
You do remember Trey Lance is coming off surgery too, right?
Sure, he's got it.
You do.
Months
that's
beforehand.
why he didn't play. That's why Brock Purdy was playing. Is because Trey Lance.
Talk about modern science. I hear about NFL players tearing an ACL every other day. I've never heard of an NFL quarterback get a Tommy John surgery. We'll see what happens.
He'll be fine.
We'll see. I know one got one in the beginning of the season. The other one got it at the end. So we'll see what happens. They're going to give Trey Lance a chance. He got the Reese
Hoskins internal brace. He'll be fine.
Oh yeah. Okay. Reese is doing great out there in warmups.
All right. Well, Nick and I asked the final question. Tim, do you have a final question, or would you like to wrap up?
No, I think that's it. I was thrown off by the Trey Lance Brock Purdy confusion, but I think that covers it.
Yeah. Yeah, I will just say Justin Fields, I think, is very much a roll the dice quarterback. I want to see how he does with actual receivers and hopefully an offensive line. But I don't know. I thought he was good at Ohio State, but I think he's one of those really good in college quarterbacks that it just doesn't translate. Look at Baker Mayfield. Like, he's just fallen off. He had somewhat good rookie year. I don't know.
I think Justin Fields is a better Kyler Murray. I'm not saying a ton, but I think Kyler Murray was somebody I was talking about as a 9-10 guy last year. And I think that becomes Fields next year. 9-10. I'm not talking 6-7, but I'm saying edge of the bubble. We're having conversations about him this time next year.
We'll see. Kyler Murray's nothing to shoot for. But, till next time, I'm excited to see what next year's list looks like.
All right.
But I think that was a good wrap up on this year.
All right. And to my final sip of, you can't see it's blurred out. My final sip of wine to Patty Mahomes, our 4-peat #1 champion for top 10. It's impressive.
Fair enough. Hey, well, cheers. Talk to you later.
All right. Peace out.
Later. Peace.
Thank you again for listening to the Post-Fades and Cheesesteaks Sports Podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe on all your major platforms. Follow us on YouTube, follow the show on Spotify and Apple, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Have a great day, and tune in next week.